It was phenomenal for from a marketing perspective, and a positioning perspective as well. So kind of like the book I'm involved in with Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, it's a fantastic positioning statement. And for marketing purposes, I mean, it was probably close to $100,000 worth of free marketing.
Thank you for joining me, Nathan. You're in Australia. You're our second guest from Australia, but you're from the other side. We had somebody from New South Wales. And tell me about your favorite thing about your city that you're in.
Well, it's funny, Western Australia is never comes up as the first place that people think of. They actually don't even know Western Australia exists. It's only the eastern states, Sydney and Melbourne. So, in that way, it kind of works well for us. It's a little bit of a off the map and a little less intense, quite a relaxed, very clean living place. And I'm down the beach most days, so it's got a pretty cool beach life too. Yeah.
Now, how strong is the entrepreneur community where you are? I've interviewed a lot of people from the Netherlands, and there's a really deep entrepreneur. It's in their culture, and I
Mm.
noticed that a lot of people come on have family members, usually fathers, who were entrepreneurs. Is that an area thing, do you think, or is it a familial thing?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Australia, particularly Western Australia being so isolated, and traditionally the population has been relatively small. We're going through some massive growth now, but they always say if you can make it in Western Australia, you can make it anywhere. Because we are so demographically isolated. Like one of my businesses is in food, and I love to sell to the rest of Australia, but physically we just actually, it's just impossible to do with freight costs. They're just through the roof. So I think if you can make it in Western Australia, it gives you some pretty good breeding ground for for creating and scaling good businesses. So the people are very entrepreneurial. You kind of have to be to survive over here because of the lack of population. I say that, and we're going into sort of 3 million now. But traditionally, when I was starting a business, it was sort of under the 2 million mark and very spread out. I mean, we've got a massive state, so a lot of people are spread out over a very vast area. So,
So you have to be
yeah, I think
smart with the logistical side of it, because that's the challenge where
yeah,
you are getting
yeah,
products in to
yeah.
if you're a manufacturing operation, getting the raw materials in, and
Mm,
if you're
mm,
creating in
correct.
Perth, it's the challenge of getting it to the larger
Yes,
cities in the east.
correct.
And for people that don't know, I actually did a book report in primary school in Australia. So when I started researching your background, I had to try to recall all of that stuff from the 1970s. But for people that don't know, Australia is two-thirds the size of the U.S. I mean,
Mm,
it's
mm,
a massive landmass, and it has almost every type of climate. You've got deserts, you've got
mm,
mountains, you've got, so you've got everything over there.
correct.
And is it more dry where you are, or is it?
I'm on the coast of Western Australia, so it's quite a pleasant. At the moment we're sort of in well 30, 40 degrees up to Fahrenheit, Celsius, beg your pardon, Celsius. So whatever that is in Fahrenheit. But yeah, it's pleasant, nice hot summers, cool winters. Something that I love to do. Being right on the beach, I'm there pretty much every day, winter and summer. So all year round. Not many other people are, I have to admit, in winter, but you can do it if you're crazy enough. Yeah.
When, of course, a lot of people that have physical products want to get on Shark Tank here of course, I think it's called Dragon's Den in the UK, and then
Yeah.
it's called Shark Tank with you guys in Australia.
Mm.
Because you're in a more remote area, was that tougher to get picked up on Shark Tank? Do they not pull entrepreneurs from that area as frequently? And of course, the question everybody wants to know: how in the world did you do it? How'd you get on there?
Yeah, yeah, it was a funny story actually. It wasn't the standard way of getting on Shark Tank. I was actually overseas in Malaysia. We were working on setting up a chain of restaurants, which actually didn't pan out, but I was there nonetheless. And we were, I found out later that while I was there, the Australian auditions for Shark Tank had come to Perth on the same dates that I was away. So I was like, I really want to get into that. So I sent them an email I just did a video of myself doing a pitch, and I sent them the pitch to them and I said, look, I'm really sorry I was overseas. I'd love to be involved. Here's my pitch. Could you potentially send it on to whoever assesses these things and tell me what you think? And they came back to me and said, oh, actually, yeah, if you want to, we've kind of like what we see. Why don't you jump on a plane, come over to Melbourne, and you can be involved in the auditions over there. So I did, and went over there. And 2 weeks later, after the pitch, pre-pitch pitch, I got an email saying, "Yeah, great, welcome to the show. We'd love to have you on the show." So, so then it was a few months later. I flew over to Sydney, and they filmed it there, and we did the pitch, and so it was probably not your traditional way of getting on the show, but nonetheless got in there. So that was fun.
And it
Yeah.
was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I want people. I don't want to give them everything. I want them to get on there because I want them to know more about your business, Tommy Sugo. And
Right.
I actually watched the videos to make sure I said that right.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
No problem. I'm so embarrassed if I mispronounce things. But what's interesting about that is something I had wondered got answered in the Shark Tank episode because I was wondering where the name of the company came from. And I don't want
Mm.
to spoil that. I'll let you explain that. But I do want to throw in that when I wrote my book Scintilla, I found a productivity tool called a Pomodoro, which I won't spoil. People have to buy the book. But Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. And and there's a connection there with Tommy Sugo. Can you share with everybody how you came up with that? And then we'll talk about the wonderful food that Tommy Sugo is making.
So yeah, Tommy Sugo just literally means Tommy in Australian slang for tomato, and Sugo is Italian for sauce. So it means tomato sauce, as one of the sharks rightfully pointed out in quite a comical way. Oh, so your name's tomato sauce? Is that what you're saying? So yeah, so that's where the name was born. The business is all around pasta. We manufacture some pretty cool, very gourmet types of pastas that we that sell. We've got a lot of different verticals, and that's one of the things I'm quite passionate about, is finding different opportunities in the one business to monetize different income streams. So we've got probably 7 or 8 different things that we do within that business, and they're all sort of sub businesses. So we've got things like home delivery, which now is a huge part of the business. We had restaurants. I had 3 restaurants. I'm down to 1 now. We do a lot of fundraising. So fundraising is a fantastic joint venture opportunity. I'm really big into joint ventures. They are just the best thing for growing a business, for scaling a business really, really quickly. Without any costs. You can kind of just plug into other people's databases and just scale your business overnight, which we've done multiple times. What else do we do? So we got restaurants. Pop-up shops. So we actually have 3 retail stores that move around shopping centers full time, and to sell directly frozen product to customers. So all the products that we do, they just buy it in retail packs. We do wholesale, and there's a catering, and there's probably 1 or 2 additional ones. So each of those are sort of a business in their own right, but
Sure.
utilizing the same product and just finding different ways of taking it to the market, really.
I made the mistake of going on your website. You've got some fantastic photos of your food, which that's an easy way to get me as food. But jackfruit curry arancini, duck ravioli, pumpkin and feta arancini. I mean, come on, man. That's it. Just looks. And your photo. And this was one thing I wanted to point out, that food photography, that's something I really critique when I look at sites, because even a restaurant, you've got to make that food look good. And you guys did a fantastic job. The I just wanted some. I just was regretful I wasn't in Australia. Are you guys planning to expand the because I know your manufacturing center is there in Australia, so it would be hard to bring it over here.
Yes.
But is there any plan like that to bring it?
We well, actually, when I was talking about the Shark Tank story, we were in Malaysia at the time, looking at the possibility of doing a collaboration with a lady that a friend of ours that runs about 150 restaurants over there. So we're looking to plug into her structure. But yeah, when we looked at it logistically, it was more we figured we'd actually probably have to set up manufacture within Malaysia because of import issues and halal issues and all sorts of reasons.
Right.
But so yeah, I think it would be a little bit challenging to export this sort of product. It's even, as I say, quite challenging getting it over to the rest of Australia.
That's
But we're still looking at ways of potentially doing that because our pop-up section, our sort of pop-up business within the business is doing really nicely, and we've got a couple of licensees that run the stores as their own, and they're really going phenomenally well. So we're figuring if we can reach out to, joint venture with other people across into the eastern states, and the logistics aren't too prohibitive, then that's an area that we'd like to try and grow and expand into. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I'm gonna hit you with two questions that they're about as close as I've got for a gotcha question. But when I watch, I'll start with the toughest one first. When I watched the Shark Tank, the very first thing I thought, and again, I want people to watch the episode. I'll put a link in the description so they can see it. I think you guys did very well on there. I think you presented the company fantastic. The one question I had that oddly was never mentioned in there, I thought to myself, and I don't want to spoil it, but your father-in-law is integral to the supply chain.
Mhm.
And my question was, did he go on Tank, I would assume, primarily as a marketing move? You didn't probably need, let's, be honest with me, you probably didn't need the
Sure.
money. It was purely for promotional purposes because I'm thinking his father-in-law could have bankrolled this. This is a
Yeah.
promotional move on their part. So
Yeah.
true or
Yeah.
false, did I
Good point. No, absolutely. Honestly,
brilliant? No, that's
no,
brilliant.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
brilliant.
No, and it was brilliant. It was phenomenal from a marketing perspective, and a positioning perspective as well. So kind of like the book I'm involved in with Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, it's a fantastic positioning statement. And for marketing purposes, I mean, it was probably close to $100,000 worth of free marketing.
Whether you have a business or want to start one, you need ideas. Pick up our book, Scintilla, the ultimate guide to generating business ideas, products, and services. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and now as an audiobook. After buying the book, go to www.freetimemastermind.com, click Other, and type Book Bonus Material to get access to the book's vault of extra information, as well as access to a private Facebook group for book owners. Find the link to the book in the description.
Every time they aired the show, and it was multiple times, every time they did a rerun, the restaurants would get packed, and it was brilliant for brand awareness as well. So it's a stunt that I don't when I sort of help. I love helping people with grow their businesses because that's just something I can talk about 24/7. When I work with people to grow their businesses, and they've come from marketing companies, and the marketing companies always say, all right, this is great for brand awareness. That to me is just a total cop out of not getting results. Okay. Because as a small business, you don't want brand awareness. You want absolute sales. You want cash in the bank. We don't have time for brand awareness. We don't have the budget for brand awareness. But that said, when you can get significant marketing exposure at zero cost, like we did with Shark Tank, that brand awareness actually has been quite beneficial. So when we go into a shopping center, or when we go to do a joint venture with a school and do some fundraising for them, often they'll go, "Oh, Tommy Sugo, yeah, yeah, we saw you on Shark Tank." In fact, our school, our year sixes did a Shark Tank review, and they watched your segment, and we did our own sort of mini Shark Tank at school based off the back of it. So it's been very, very useful for opening doors.
It
So
continues to pay dividends. And how many
yeah,
hundreds of thousands of dollars in Google ads and Meta ads would that have taken to build that
exactly,
trust and relationship in the community?
exactly.
In the Tommy Sugo ecosystem of businesses, what's your profit center? Where is it seem to be the most where the most benefit financially is coming out of all of those different services that you provide?
Our core is home deliveries and our pop-up shops because we've been running them for 10 years. So we understand the dynamics of both of those quite well. Always learning, but nonetheless, those we've had the most experience with and have a very strong sort of brand recognition within those categories. So they're the ones they're our bread and butter. And the other ones are ones that we start, we promote and we work on growth because we can see they're getting results, but they're nowhere near the sort of size of the other part of the business. Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the joint venture because I'm a big fan of Jeff Walker's book Launch. I've mentioned it many times on the podcast. He talks, I think there's an entire chapter dedicated to joint venture launches. So I want to get into that. But first, one thing that I noticed when looking through all of your posts and social media is I got the sense that you're a very skilled, what we call here, a guerrilla marketer. In other words, you're very good at uncommon forms of marketing, usually very low cost. Is that something that you were taught, trained, that you read, or did you just understand that intuitively, or did you do it, out of budget necessity?
100%. It was via necessity. That was it. Didn't have the money. I mean, I grew up eating a lot of potatoes, and the reason for that was they're very, very cheap, and as a result, there was a lot of them in the shopping trolley. My sister recalls just rice. We just had rice every day. I must have blocked that one out of my mind because I just remember these potato nightmares that I had. And so that sort of an upbringing forced me to look for ways that you could grow businesses creatively without any costs, without any risks. And a lot of, off the back of that now, a lot of the marketing we do is organic. I think I've only done paid ads very, very few times over the years. I'll always ask, okay, how can we make this as effective as a paid ad, generating as much or more better results than a paid ad at zero cost? So I'm a big advocate of you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. But you just got to know to ask those questions. And I think the background of bloody potatoes every day was a pretty big impetus for finding those creative ways.
One thing I was thinking about was the efficiency of that organic marketing and traditional marketing. People that have been paying for Google ads and Meta ads have been complaining the last 3 years with the levels of complaints getting higher and higher because people are paying more, dumping more money into this black box that nobody knows how it works or understands, and they're getting less and less and less. As a matter of fact, I talked to a past guest just I think yesterday, and they have a project going on, and they're down 70%. They're not doing anything different. It's just 70% of the business is gone. They don't think it's an economic thing. It's some algorithm. Somebody on a spreadsheet changed something and boom, their business is down 70%. I mean, that's pretty significant. But one thing I noticed was in Gary Vaynerchuk's, and I'm sure I think it's Vaynerchuk, his book, Day Trading Attention. I thought this was genius. We started pushing shorts out there, YouTube shorts, and those get a lot of attention. They don't get a lot of engagement. It doesn't necessarily push up our subscribers, but it does get eyeballs. And Gary mentioned it. I never would have thought about it unless he mentioned it. You take those shorts that do very, very well, and then you can repackage them and put them in other places because you've already done your testing ground. So that's
Mhm.
he's big into that organic. So
Yep.
we're doing hundreds of shorts, and the ones
Awesome.
that do very, very well, now we can repurpose them. And I never would have thought of that if Gary hadn't mentioned it, because marketing, let's face it, marketing today in 2025 is doesn't look anything like it did in 2005. I mean, my goodness.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say you're absolutely right. Everything changes so fast in that field, and yeah, and we kind of hit it with like a shotgun approach. So we'll just throw everything at it. I've got a couple of team members who just work full time, focusing on growth, on getting our name out there, on direct messaging. We do heaps of direct messaging and a lot of automated direct messaging. So your kind of passive, active marketing that's automated. So we do that through the likes of Facebook, through Facebook groups, and we do a lot of LinkedIn direct message marketing, particularly for businesses that I'm involved in that sort of a B2B businesses that you want to reach out to businesses and create appointments in particular. So that can work really, really well. It's free, but we use software that automates that process. That software constantly is evolving. You know, there's so much cool stuff out there in the AI space now that is just changes on a daily basis. We do a lot of personalized video too. Using at the moment we're using Be Human software, which is very technical, but when you get it right, it's quite cool because you can send a pre-recorded video out to a prospect, and you can drop in their name, you can drop in their business, and it'll change your voice to say exactly, you know, their name, their business, etc. So now we're big fans of building customer databases. You know, we've got tens of thousands of customers over the years. Say for the Tommy Sugo business, you know, we collect their name, their email, their phone number, and now as we collect each new customer, then a day later an automated video is sent to them and saying, "Hi John, thanks for dropping into our Tommy Sugo pop-up at Nedlands. Just wanted to tell you a few things about our business that you may not know that we could potentially help you with down the track." And it's getting a lot of eyeballs, a lot of attention, and at this stage it's still really cutting through. So there'll come a stage where that becomes inefficient and ineffective, as people realize that, oh yeah, it's AI, it's not actually a personalized video. And it's funny, back in the days before that came to fruition, I was at one stage I had a restaurant that was struggling to make it work, and I started doing all these personalized videos, and that was sitting in front of the camera and saying, "Hey, John, thanks for coming into our restaurant. Come back, here's the voucher, blah, blah, blah." And I'd do probably 50 videos a day. And by the end of it, I was completely stuffed. So having the new automation tools is amazing. You know, a lot of people are fearful of this whole AI movement, of losing jobs. And what I found in my business is I have recruited more and more people because the level of content now that you can just pump out and the automation of all the tools is just so awesome that you want to be doing more and more in that space because it just makes it easier and easier. So you can scale further and further and further. So, so I don't think there's any fear if you take on, and that's what I've said to all of my team guys. If you want to be with me for the next 100 years, you got to get into this AI stuff, and you got to be using it to just pump out some good stuff. So that's
That's
where we're
right.
at.
And it doesn't hurt if you know your demographic, if you know your customer, and you have some level of empathy. You know, the people that where they have this marketing that falls, they don't understand people's motivations. And even myself, you know, when I first read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then all of those subsequent books, believe it or not, I would way before this podcast, I was horrible about dominating conversations. And this podcast actually is part of correcting that, because I don't learn anything when my mouth is open. I only learn when you're talking. So this has been great. And marketing is the same way. When you really understand the drives of the desires of your customer, that changes everything. So a lot of times, whether it be a musician writing a song or a chef creating something, you have to play to what they want. And I don't
Mm,
think a lot of people think about that. They have a dream. I want to create this chicken dish, or I want to write this song, and it might not hit because are you really serving the market? So one thing that people tend to struggle with, myself included, even with the podcast, there's what I'd like to do, and then there's what people are interested in, and trying to find where it's close enough where I can stay excited,
mm,
like this conversation. Obviously I'm enthused. I love your story. I think it's fantastic, and you're in a sector that I'm fascinated with. So this is fantastic, but there are other things that the algorithm on YouTube that they want me, topics they want me to get it that I wouldn't have fun doing it. So
mm.
obviously you must have a passion, a deep passion for food, because that's very much a part of your corporate identity.
Well, food is one thing, but I'm passionate about lots of things, and that's probably a little bit of a problem. But it's led to a lot of different businesses in a lot of different categories because at the end of the day, I kind of see it as solving problems. With any business is just a means to an end of creating a solution to a problem that
That's
exists.
right.
So I mean, there's so many opportunities out there, and I just, I'm guilty of having that shiny-itis, personality where you go, oh wow, that looks cool, let's go and do that. But then I'm finding, you have to back it up with the question of, okay, how can we do that? What resources are required, and what infrastructure, and is my existing team capable of that business slotting into our infrastructure that we've got already? So I think when you're starting out and you don't have that team in place, it's very, very hard to think more broadly about opportunities in different areas. But as you develop and refine that team, and I've got to say, I've got an absolutely amazing team that have been sort of handpicked, and we've gone through the journey together, and we love just nerding out about marketing and how we can grow businesses organically without any money, and doing really cool stuff, that testing and measuring and just saying, okay, that works, that doesn't, let's get rid of that, let's change this. So being very sort of dynamic in the space where you're at as well, and just having that thirst for, is this going to work? How can we make it work? What sort of levels of opportunities are there in that business? Then those are the things probably that drive me even more than, yeah, I love food. And so having my father-in-law's background of making some phenomenal food, to me, that was just an amazing opportunity. All right, what can we do with that business? How can we scale that? How can I brand it? How can I make it into something that it's not currently? So that's what gets me fired up, I guess.
Well, one big part of your business that allows you to jump around when you want to is that you have this very thick foundation that you've poured, that are these email addresses. And that's something we talk on the channel a lot. I have said several times that I'd rather have someone with a mediocre idea for a business sitting on top of a very big mailing list than somebody with a brilliant idea that doesn't know anybody. And I've got friends like that, and those are the ones that I said, you've got to do a joint venture. You've got to put that
Mm,
great idea together with somebody that understands marketing, that has 100,000 or 10, let's just say 10,000 email
mm,
addresses.
mm,
Once you have that audience, which is not, Facebook doesn't own them, you own
mm.
that list. That's
Oh,
your
got it.
territory. I'd probably have rather have email than land, physical land. I'd rather have email addresses. It's worth that much. And it allows you to, hey, we're doing Tommy Sugo, but you can't go completely off brand. There are limits to what you can
Mm,
do. But of
mm,
course you can move people on and bring people in? And let's say if you wanted to step back from the company, because everything that I've seen, you're very much the face of the company, but you could slowly introduce someone else through that email list, through videos, and transition a new person in there. So yeah, the how would you rank an email list on a scale of one not being important and 10 being the thing? Where would you put
About 11. So
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally resonate with everything you've just said. And it took me way too long to switch on to that. I was told by mentors for years, oh, you should do your own database. You should start collecting names. And I was like, oh, I just can't even think about that. I've got too much going on. I had every excuse under the sun. Don't really understand why I didn't adopt it quicker and earlier, because it's actually not that hard. So in Tommy Sugo, for example, we've been doing this for years. We draw $100 package that people can win every month. So they put their details into a Jot form, which is just a form for collecting all their information, and just puts it all together very easily for us. They go into that, and then once a month we draw a name out and we announce that person on social media, and they have to come into the shop, pick up their product. And part of the deal is that they have to do a testimonial. So we want something for our dollars, right? So there's a little bit of an added incentive there for us. But in the meantime, we're creating tens of thousands of people. We're getting sort of anywhere between 10 and 20 new names that go into the database every single day. They get warmed up, so they receive an email with the video saying, hey John, hey Mary, hey Susie, thanks for stopping into the store that they came to. So yeah, it's a fantastic, there's so many ways of using it. Every time we send an email, we're getting better at that. We really sucked originally, because there's so many intricacies of your email database, of warming up your emails, of not destroying your domain name while you're using that, of doing it sporadic, like small amounts, sending, there's lots of different intricacies. So you learn all that along the way when your emails don't hit the inbox and they end up in the spam, and you go, okay, maybe we need to readdress this structure, this skill set. But yeah, in a long-winded way, yes, couldn't agree with you more about the database. It's absolutely essential.
It's 11. Yeah, it's everything.
Mhm.
Now, of course, you learned a lot along the way. Is that still done in-house, or do you have someone else doing that? Because it is critical to get it right, because when you talked about
Mm.
burning a domain, for people that don't know what that means, if you get
Mm.
flagged on too many servers or sites or watchdog companies as a spammer, you're dead. You're dead in the water. Your
Mm.
URL, your .com is you know you
Mm.
basically have to come up with a new name and start over again. So is that something that you have a team in-house that does all of the email
Yep.
marketing?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, we work on my concept is always to spend a minimum of 3 hours every day for new business generation. So that can be, so that's all done within the within house. We actually end up, that's an absolute minimum, but we probably end up more spending about 16 hours a day just for business growth activities. Because I mean, if you're not growing your business, you're going backwards. There's no such thing as coasting. You're either up or you're down. It just doesn't exist where you just coast. Too many people are coming into whatever field you're into, and that's, your competition. So if you're not actively spending a whole bunch of time every day on lead generation, and as I say, we do it through email, through direct messaging, through content creation, through SEO. We create a minimum of two articles every day per website, so that we focus on the keywords and optimizing on page, all that cool stuff that just gets you more and more visible. That's,
That's right.
hence part of what I'm doing with you here today,
That's
Robert,
right.
with
That's right.
just getting the brand out there. Like I was saying before, I've sort of had my head down, bum up, just building businesses, and now it's like, okay, well, we've got to grow this a little bit more, and how can we get more visible? So hence these sort of interviews are great.
I don't know if you're still looking for other joint venture opportunities, but for people that want to get involved with somebody else, when you're getting pitched, what are you looking for when somebody approaches you with a product or a service? What would
I think
catch your attention? Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, passion is always going to open the door. So that's a great starting point. And then a backup with a great concept is useful. And then probably even more important, as you've actually touched on, is what sort of method to market are you going to get it out there? You know, you mentioned databases. You'd much prefer to do business with someone with a great database. So, you know, I think in today's very, very cluttered world, you need to be able to have a very good, clear channel to market. So that is probably more important than the product itself. How are we going to get it out there to people so that we can get eyeballs on it and open a few wallets out there? So they're the sort of things that we look for. And yeah, I'm always open to joint venturing with people who have great skill sets in a particular area. You know, you have to be really good at that little niche. For example, one of my startups that I'm involved in is called Flair School. You know, I think you see the little logo above it. And with that, we teach kids at a school level financial literacy because we just feel that there's absolutely doesn't exist. You go through school and you have no idea about really the real world and about money and tax and entrepreneurialism and, you know, all the stuff that actually you really, really need. It's probably, you know, a little bit more important than algebra, right? So, stuff that the basics that we should all know about that doesn't get taught at school, that should get taught at school as a basic foundation. And so we've joint ventured with the headmaster of one of my kids' schools after just loads and loads of chats about, you know, there needs to be more. And we did a little Shark Tank pitch at the school, and I sort of did a little presentation and things. And off the back of that, we thought, you know, the kids are just loving it so much. They're really, really passionate about it. The headmaster was super passionate about it. And so we've built this course that's based on the curriculum of the schools. And so joint venturing with him has been absolutely awesome to get the content side of it. And then I'm bringing in the marketing side of it and getting it out there. So those collaborations where you both have a really good, strong skill set that you can bring to the party is fantastic. That's really, really important. That's all I look, you know, pretty major part of what I look for new partners going forwards.
I was excited to hear that you're collaborating with Anthony Robbins and Brian Tracy. They're household words here, of course, in Australia, here in the US. How did that happen? You know, that was another great thing. You know, we know the Shark Tank story. That was great. An email, shoot your shot. You know, you've got to shoot your shot. Was the book project a similar, did you find that in a similar way?
Yeah, so I mean, those guys are absolute gurus. So I could only hope to, you know, aspire to that level. But I was in a podcast actually, and after I was doing a strange angle on a podcast. I was focusing on one of the things I love doing is stimulating dopamine. So changing the biochemistry of the body. My background's as a naturopath. So utilizing ketosis, which is, you know,
Okay.
where we reduce the carbs, we go and utilize the body fat and we create ketones. So changing the biochemistry, and I've kind of got this very strange, unique angle about how we can stimulate dopamine and grow business off the back of it. Because at the end of the day, that's everything that I'm focused on is business. How do I grow that business more? What tools, tricks, systems, processes can I put in place? I don't care where it comes from, but if that's going to be awesome for my bottom line, what can we throw into that mix and just go like crazy, you know, to scale? So I put in mindset. Everyone knows about mindset, but mindset and particularly optimizing your health, maximizing your energy, improving your brain, cognitive activity, everything that's focused. Everything that I do could have some other awesome, it will always have some other awesome health benefits, but I just do it for business. That's my pure outcome. So I was, so get back to the story. So yeah, my angle, I was talking about dopamine and how we can stimulate dopamine and the connection between changing the biochemistry of the body to stimulate more of this all these endocrine hormones, and how that can actually translate to business growth. So you've all, I'm sure you've heard of The Secret, watched the movie, read the book, right? So the law
Yes.
of attraction, it's a little bit sort of out there, but what I've done is found a link between how we can stimulate our dopamine, and then put into play the law of attraction, again, only for business purposes. So so I find by stimulating dopamine, in a nutshell, by stimulating dopamine, we get into a very positive cycle. We're very uplifted. We attract a whole lot more opportunities to us. We see a whole lot more opportunities, ways of doing things, and we have better relationships with suppliers, better relationships with everyone, and it just creates an awesome snowball effect, which can really help grow your business. So I was telling them about this, and they were going, "Oh, it's a bit different. That's that's a bit out there." And then after the podcast, they said, "Oh, I'd really love to connect you with this guy who publishes books with Tony and Brian, and I think I think there's a nice little angle there that you could get involved in." And I said, "Yeah, love to." So that's kind of how it worked. And I'm only writing a very small chapter. There's a bunch of other guys that are involved in the book. So I'm just putting a little bit all about business growth. Again, that's all I ever focus on.
Of course, you've got your own podcast, and if you could let people know what you focus on that podcast and what they can look forward to when they connect with you on there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a very new podcast, but it's all about the end result is business. So we use dopamine and mindset and health optimization and business. Whatever tools we can bring in, throw in, interviewing people of successful people of how they've grown their business. That's kind of what we talk about. So end result is business growth. Full stop.
And of course, you're going to talk about the book because we need the title, we need the Amazon link, we need to be able to buy that book. Do you have any details of the book to share?
Yeah, so it's coming out mid to late March if everything goes according to plan. It's called Cracking the Rich Code. And yeah, it's Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, and then there's a bunch of us that are sort of entrepreneurs with our little 2 cents worth of contributions there. So that'll come out. That'll be on my website, nathanbaws.com, and Amazon when it's released. So I don't have any links or anything at this stage. It just hasn't come out yet. But
that's okay. We're one of the unusual podcasts, Nathan. When that does change, email it to me. We'll update the description. So we look at that as a living document, so we sometimes we'll change thumbnail, to try to get people more interested because we want them to get interested in your story and what you're doing. Now, other than your nathanbaws.com, are there any other sites you'd like people to connect with you? Would you Facebook, LinkedIn? What's the best way people can reach you?
Yeah, probably come through the Nathan Baws website, but LinkedIn also is I'm relatively active there. There's a bunch of different businesses that I'm involved in, but if you want to sort of connect closely, then they're the two best sites. Through the website actually is quite cool. If you have a business, we meet monthly and we just chat business. So it's a completely free connect. May not be at the best time for the US market, but we're based in Australia. But you're welcome to, anyone's welcome to come on board. You just bring your biggest business growth challenges, and we just chat and we just nerd out about ways that potentially we could help you grow it. You can grow it on your own.
It's a free mastermind group,
completely
basically.
free. Yeah. We just get to chat more about business, which we love doing. So anyone's welcome to join that too through the website.
Well, thank you so much, Nathan. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can get a follow-up with you after the book comes out. You can tell us about that process, because we've had a lot of authors on. We love going through the writing process, which we didn't get into, and what motivated you to do that subject. So there's a lot on the table to discuss for a future episode. So I hope you'll come back.
Love to be involved. Thanks so much, Robert. It was an absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you, Nathan. Pleasure was mine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Free Time Mastermind Group now offers special videos available only to Mastermind Insiders. Go to www.freetimemastermind.com, click Other, and type YouTube Insider to get free access. Also, click like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video. Thank you for watching the Free Time Mastermind Podcast.